Hello, fifth graders, and welcome to week 7, our final week of English class. I'm going to be reading this mentor text after the fall because it is a perfect example of what we will be doing this week with our continuation stories. This author, Dan Satat, took the classic nursery rhyme of Humpty Dumpty and picked up the story right where the nursery rhyme left off and kept going, continuing it on. That's what we're going to be trying to do as well. He did it in a very creative way, and I'm looking forward to your creativity too. Normally, I read this story in a British accent in class, so I'm going to be doing the same thing here to keep things interesting. Let's begin. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot, high up on the wall. I know it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I loved being close to the birds. Then one day I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks called it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand. It was just an accident, but it changed my life. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together. Well, most of me. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. After that day, I became afraid of heights. I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things. I'm going to pause us here. I usually pause us at this page in class really quick just to take a look at the illustration. Now, the text says he is afraid of heights, which makes sense because he just had his big fall off the wall. So it's understandable that he's a little bit hesitant. So he probably doesn't want to go up that ladder to get maybe the cereals he's used to, the fun cereals. He can't get Sugar Bunny and Taco Duck and Happy O's anymore. Now, because of his fear, he has to stay down close to the ground with some of the more boring choices like leaves and cardboard or grown-up food or sad clown or no fun. It's like the little details that the illustrations are able to give. All right, let's get back to it. I walked past the wall every day, and I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really missed the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day an idea flew by. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches, but day after day I kept trying and trying until I got it just right. My plane was perfect, and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close enough. Unfortunately, accidents happen. They always do. I almost walked away again, but then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall, but the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it. I was terrified. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing one step at a time until I was no longer afraid. Maybe now you won't think of me as the egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully you'll remember me as the egg who got back up and learned how to fly. Life begins when you get back up. So, I really liked how this story ended. I think this author had a pretty creative idea in mind. We would have never thought that Humpty Dumpty was actually a bird this entire time. The story makes sense though, and they connect. The nursery rhyme original one connects with this story. The author does a really nice job of making that connection, and that's the creativity I'm looking for from you this week. If you look back through the story, you can also see or find little clues and hints from the author about it leading up to Humpty Dumpty becoming a bird. And you may have already clued into that. You may want to think of the ending first when you're writing your story this week and work backwards. You can find more about that in this week's PowerPoint. So head back over to it and see which nursery rhyme you might want to continue this week. Thanks for tuning in.